I've never been super impressed by the 1x2x3. I like how compact it is, but it is way too easy to solve. So I've always been interested in 1x2x3 variations that make it more difficult. You may remember that in a previous video, I showed the sliding 1x2x3 by NK Cubed, which makes all of the normal 1x2x3 turns, but also slides vertically. I've also shown this 1x2x3 Plus by RC Pongo, which is a 1x2x3 that can make quarter turns on the vertical axis and then still have turns available. This one wasn't the best turning puzzle though. I like these puzzles because they're still small and simple, but they are a little more interesting to solve than a normal 1x2x3. So when I was browsing Thingiverse and saw this split 1x2x3 by Graphalix, based on an original design by NK Cubed, I decided to print it for myself. Right away though, there was a problem. The centers on his design are held together by an M3x35 screw and a nut, and I wanted absolutely nothing to do with either of those. Thankfully, Graphalix provided the Onshape document for this puzzle, which is way more than most people posting puzzles on this website here do. So I redesigned the centers to use a normal length M3 screw and no nut. Another mistake I commonly see on Thingiverse puzzles, not on this one, but commonly enough that I feel the need to mention it, is that the center that the screw head goes into has a diameter of 3mm for the screw thread. That's too small, as an M3 screw thread will still catch on that. You want a diameter of 3.2 mils for the rotating center, and a diameter of 2.7mm for the core, or in this case the fixed center into which the screw screws. After modifying the centers, I printed in all the parts, which was very straightforward and required almost no support. I don't understand why Graphalix felt the need to split all the parts to eliminate support supposedly, but again, thankfully he provided the Onshape document and unsplit part STLs as well. The best thing to do is to give people options. The mechanism of the split 1x2x3 is very simple. It's just a regular 1x2x3, but the corners are split in half. So the assembly was just like putting together a regular 1x2x3, just with more parts. It went together very smoothly. The only hiccup was that the screw I used was a bit too long. Thankfully, I designed the screw hole long enough that the screw fit anyway, and I was able to get the split 1x2x3 assembled without having to find another screw. Which wouldn't have been a big deal, as it's like 2 feet away from me, but laziness wins, okay? Graphalix provided a sticker template for the puzzle, which I used to make the stickers. Now that that's all done, let's take the split 1x2x3 outside and see how it works. In case you're newer to the channel, know that this video, along with the previous one about the mini iCube, have been a revival of a series I used to make that's called Print It Yourself, where I show puzzles available on Thingiverse or another website called My Mini Factory. Back when I first started my channel, every other video was actually an episode of Print It Yourself, and you can check out the rest of the videos in the playlist linked in the description below. I'm not going to be following any kind of regular schedule with these Print It Yourself videos. It's more just like, if a puzzle I show you happens to be available publicly, so be it. But I'm not going to work towards any certain amount of episodes of this. But anyway, have you figured out by now what the split 1x2x3 actually is? This is a 2x2x3 shape mod with a bandaged central layer. A regular 2x2x3 has a 2x2x1 as its central layer, while this has a 1x1x2 like a square 1 does. As such, I imagine this will be a bit easier to solve than a 2x2x3, which already isn't a difficult puzzle. In terms of turning quality, the outer layers can be a bit tight to turn. I couldn't lube them because the mechanism is slightly exposed on the outside of the puzzle, and I didn't want the lube to get onto the outside and make the stickers gross. The vertical slice turns consistently well, which makes sense because there's just a single screw holding it together and not any kind of 3D printed mechanism. There were files available for a 20mm and a 24mm version of the puzzle, and I made the 24mm part version so that it would roughly match the size of my older Junior Metal Flop Extreme. Overall, I would consider this a great puzzle to print if you're new to 3D printing, as printing it is straightforward and doesn't have that many parts. I'll post the files for the centers I designed as a remix of the split 1x2x3 on Thingiverse, so check it out there if you're interested. I know this is a bit more simplistic than what I usually show you, but I made this because it inspired me for a pretty cool puzzle that I'll make sometime in the future, and I wanted a physical version so I could visualize my new idea a bit better. But anyway, let's scramble the split 1x2x3. Alright, now it is time to solve the split 1x2x3. This is not a very difficult puzzle, so I don't think I'm going to need to speed anything up in this solve. Now this is a bandaged 2x2x3. This is the central axis on which it turns, and this is the bandaged axis. If this was an unbandaged 2x2x3, there would be a cut here vertically, and another one here vertically. But other than that, this is basically just going to solve the same as a 2x2x3. So let's start with the red side, I guess. Okay, so the red side has been solved. The central layer is wrong, but we can fix that at the end. That's not a big deal. So now we're going to use the cuboid algorithm to solve, technically, I know it looks like these two are wrong, but we're actually going to flip these two because that's just how the algorithm works. How about that though? A 1x2x3 that actually requires algorithms to solve. That's not something you see every day. Okay, and the middle layer is still wrong, so let's just use the square one algorithm. It's kind of interesting how many algorithms the square one shares with just assorted cuboids. It's part of why my waterfall cubes have not been as bad to solve as you'd think, because they also share a lot of cuboid algorithms. But anyway, this is the split 1x2x3 solved. Honestly, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty easy. But I will say that for the very little amount of effort it took to print this and build it, this is quite a fun little puzzle. And overall, I enjoyed the process of printing it, building it, and finally scrambling and solving it. Definitely worth printing if you're new to 3D printing, or just want something a bit easier. Once again, I will post these two center parts in a remix on Thingiverse. But that's all I really have to say about the split 1x2x3. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.